So a mixed bag of fortunes there in that report about labour and their demands in different parts of the country. Well, that's our focus here this morning, and we're joined by Onyeka Chris, who is the Acting General Secretary of NLC. Thank you for coming on this morning.
My pleasure.
Well, yes, we've seen several demands made by labour, but how did you arrive at the figure that you're asking government of?
The most important thing is that the wage floor is negotiated or renegotiated after every 5 years. And now it's overdue for renegotiation. And we know that things have really changed in Nigeria. Inflation has gone up drastically. The exchange rate has bottomed out. And living conditions have become worse in the last 5 years. Things have gone bad. Is it accommodation? The price of bread has gone up. I know that, I'm sure that everybody knows that the price of bread has gone up by about 25%. The price of garri has gone up by almost 80%. The price of rice has gone up by almost 50%. And these are the things that Nigerian workers spend their meager income on. And in fact, you don't have to go too far to know that it is justified, it is moral, it is something that is acceptable. Statutory is something that also must have to be negotiated. And the figure you talked about, 50-something, we have asked for 90,000. We are asking for 90,000 naira monthly because we know that the prices of things have really gone far ahead. How much do you pay for a liter of petrol? When was the last time you had 6 hours of electricity in your house? It means you have to go and run your generator. How much do you pay to buy a liter of fuel? It's moved from 86 naira 50 to 150, 200, depending on where you're buying it from. And Nigerian workers are the ones that are actually going to spend this. So things have gone up, and so salaries have to go up.
Well, these challenges are with us, and they've been with us. Yeah. And Labour appears to always be fixated on this regular 5-year period wherein they have to renegotiate the minimum wage. Does Labour ever think about maybe pushing for stronger naira, for instance? Because if it were, I'm not sure Labour will be bothered about increase or renegotiating the minimum wage.
The Labour movement has always been involved in every aspect of the Nigerian economy. We have always asked for responsible and prudent management of the economy, and that includes the exchange rate. I remember that in the last 4 years or 5 years, when Sanusi was the CBN governor, and the issue of the 5,000 naira note, came into play, the Labour movement resisted it. The Labour movement was at the fore, because we knew the damage it could have caused on the naira. And also, one other thing is that the Labour movement is on the fore in asking that petroleum products be refined in Nigeria so that we'll stop importing, because we know that the singular effort of refining all our crudes in Nigeria, and getting our products domestically supplied will remove a whole lot of pressure on the naira. And when these pressures are removed on the naira, and then the problems we're having will be reduced. That does not mean that even if the pressures are reduced, you still have profligacy in the people that are governing us. That still will not make any sense. And so the battle or the struggle for a better Nigeria is a collective one. It's something that is holistic. It's something that is fought at the level of probably fighting some of the macroeconomic indices, and also at the level of moral suasion, talking to the people that are our leaders to ensure that right policies and right actions are taken.
Does Labour consider the consequences if states were to, for instance, pay the increase in the minimum wage? The states may not have that capacity to sustain it.
The states have capacities to sustain the increment. Why? all the states have to do is to look at the IGR. All the states have to do is to be more responsible, more prudent in the way in what they spend their money on and in the way they spend money. That is all they have to do. It's sincerity. And when they tell you about the size of their overhead, you ask yourself, what is the content of this overhead? When you deconstruct the overhead, you find out that the component that actually goes to workers, genuine worker salary, is so small.
Let me comment here. You know, we're a federation.
Yes.
Are you asking for a minimum wage across all states? Same minimum wage for all states of the federation? Is that what Labour is asking for?
Exactly. It's a wage floor. Wage floor in many federations, there's always a national wage floor.
Let's pick one federation, which is the United States.
Okay, there's a wage floor, is it not? Is there not?
There's
a national wage floor.
Every
and then
state,
the states.
every state.
It's a minimum. Let me come. There's always a minimum. A wage floor, okay, for the nation. And now what it means is that the states cannot go below that, but they can go above that.
But let's not misinform the people, but it's never uniform from state to state.
Yes, it may not be uniform. What we are saying.
So are you asking for a uniform minimum wage in the country?
Now, okay, let me give you an example. Edo State has gone up to 25. Other states are still struggling. Adams Oshiomhole just announced.
You say they're struggling.
Other states are still struggling because...
Means they can't pay.
No. The willingness to pay.
I don't want to lose track of this argument because if it's not uniform, for instance, you know, so many cities and country, even in the United Kingdom, they all started by talking about minimum wage. They've increased a whole lot. And this, for instance, if you look at what is happening in the United States, it doesn't fall with what Labour is asking for in the country. There's no uniform minimum wage every state, and there's also a caveat in almost all the states, and they say the governor can halt the increase in the event of a recession or budgetary downturn. Is Labour also looking in that direction when we talk about recession or budgetary downturn for states?
Suleiman, in Nigeria, labor issues are in the exclusive legislative list. The state governors cannot make laws concerning labor issues. And that includes wage determination. Now, the wage floor is specific to the federal government. And federal government cannot abdicate that responsibility. We understand the society where we live in.